What's up guys, it's Crash, and today we're going to talk about armor. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why this can be a frustrating thing even if it's balanced. Also, based on the gameplay footage yesterday, we have a pretty good idea how it's going to work, and I have a pretty good idea how it's going to affect time to kill because yes, I have some real numbers. All right, guys, everything is time tagged down below. So if you want to skip to the numbers at the end, that is perfectly acceptable. And I give you a way to do that. But first, I wanted to take an introspective look on myself, why I think that mechanics like this can be frustrating, even if they're balanced, because we'll see when we take a look at these numbers, it really doesn't affect the time to kill very much. However, the reason I think it can be frustrating is because when we die, we look for reasons why. And whenever we deduce that it's a reason like this, that sticks in our mind. And what I mean by that is when I take a gunfight, I generally expect to win it. And when I expect to win it and I don't, I look for reasons why. Now, and I think when I look at this and I see that death screen and that person had armor and they needed one more shot, I'm going to say, man, I should have won that fight. And that is going to stick with me. That's going to be frustrating and it's going to stick with me. Even though I may use the armor, get some good out of it, win some gunfights I maybe shouldn't, but I expected to win those. So those really don't stick in my memory. When I'm using armor, it just seems like everything's going okay and everything's fine as long as I'm winning gunfights. But when I die to somebody with that armor, even if it's 10 kills to one death, but that one death, that guy was one shot, he needed one more bullet and he was wearing armor, that's gonna stick with me. So I think sometimes these mechanics get a little bit unfairly judged. And along those same lines, guys, personally, I'm not talking down to you guys at all. I'm the exact same way. But in this case, I'm going to do my best to hold my opinions until after the beta. And then even then, guys, I think it's really important when we voice our concerns to do it in a respective, constructive way, because I truly believe DICE wants to make a good game that we enjoy, and being negative will not get your opinion heard anymore. The world is negative enough, guys. When we're in here playing games together in this community, we're going to do our very best to stay positive. So when we do form opinions about controversial topics like this, I think it's very important to stay positive. So now let's take a look at a little bit of the data and see how this is going to affect the game as it sits right now. All right, guys. So looking at the HUD, we can see that Irish spawns in with 10 points of armor. Now, based on that status bar, it looks like he can go up to almost somewhere in the 25 point ballpark. We can see by his trait description that he can pick up armor off downed enemies. It looks like he can repair his armor the more enemies that he kills. Now, there are still a few questions remaining. Can he give armor to other specialists? That armor slot, although it was 0, was still there in the technical test. Not sure if that was just left over. They copy pasted the HUD and hadn't refined things like that yet. Completely possible. Also, not sure if 10 is the maximum in multiplayer, and maybe you can go up to 25 in something like Hazard Zone, pay some extra money for some extra armor. There's still a few questions out there, but what we're going to do is take a look at both scenarios, whether he has 10 points of armor or 25 points of armor, and based off those damage values I got from the technical test, we're going to compare that with the M5A3 assault rifle and see how that affects time to kill. So it's actually pretty interesting how this stuff works out. If we look at the scenario where he has 10 health points of armor, you guys can see on the graphic, health is in the white bar and then the armor is in the blue. And then the damage is in the red chunks. Each one of those segments represents a bullet. So you can see that up close. And now the number here that I'm not 100% sure on is that 30 meters. It's around 30 meters where the damage drops off. So up close to the chest, the M5A3 does 28 points of damage. Farther away, it does 21. So we can see how this affects the time to kill when it comes to armor. Inside that 30 meter range up close, there's going to be no difference to the time to kill. When he spawns in with 10 points of armor, you're not even going to notice it. Now, when he gets out in that farther range where your damage drops down to 21, we can see that highlighted shot is going to take an extra shot. Those first 5 shots don't quite pull it off. And then basically on that, I did just a little bit more math. let me know in the comments if I messed this up. I'll definitely pin your comment. I want to keep things as accurate as possible, but based on what I could tell, the RPM, the rate of fire, was about 770 rounds a minute. So one extra round is around 78 milliseconds. So that's how much longer the time to kill would be. I understand that it's not just about time. When you start to learn a gun, you start to feel how many shots it should take to kill. If you have multiple enemies, you want to put those 5 shots on them, move to the next one right away. If someone has armor, that gets a little different and can kind of mess you up. So I understand. And like I said, those deaths stick with us, and that's why this is kind of a controversial mechanic. So now let's take a look at 25 health. So if Irish kills some more enemies, picks up 25 health, or if you run into him in hazard zone and he's fully armored up with 25 armor points, you can see that we will notice it in that close to 30-meter range. We're going to notice it, but then it's going to be the same 6 shots to kill. So an armored enemy at that farther range where you're at 21 damage with the M5 is going to be 6 shots to kill, no matter if it's 10 points of armor or if it's 25 points of armor. But that up close range, that's going to go ahead and make it take an extra bullet if he has full armor. So that's going to take it up to the 5 shots to kill and give us that increase of 78 milliseconds. So yeah, guys, you can see that there's a little bit of an effect, but as it sits right now, not much of an effect, especially using that M5A3 assault rifles. Not sure, you know, it's going to have more of an effect on a slower rate of fire gun because it takes more time to get that extra bullet out, if in fact it does take an extra bullet. So there's a lot of knobs and dials they can turn to balance this, but like I said, even if it's balanced, it can still be a frustrating mechanic. But guys, that's all I had for today. Remember to keep your opinions constructive. I'm going to do the same, and that's all I had today. Be a friend, tell a friend, and we'll see you on the next one.